Amidst the cold wilderness, the grizzly bear exists as a symbol of strength, instinct, and absolute dominance. Humans do not always get to witness such tense encounters, but when the lens accidentally records them, the truth emerges hauntingly. So what happened in those face-offs that made the whole forest seem to fall silent before the wrath of the grizzly bear? Let's explore bear versus deer. Under the sparse forest canopy, the bear accidentally faces a deer herd. That suffocating moment of vigilance lasts for less than a full breath. The bear immediately locks its target onto the tiniest creature. Despite losing in speed, the bear still creates terrifying strides. The fawn panics, loses orientation, and completely falls out of rhythm with the herd. Trying to squeeze through the bushes, the fawn is desperate as branches block the way. The bear swoops in, coldly taking its life with a lightning-fast finishing blow. Under the autumn foliage, the mother deer and her fawn are engrossed in foraging. Suddenly, a strange sound rings out. When the giant silhouette of the bear reveals itself, the mother deer clearly understands the absolute disparity. It accelerates to flee. On the contrary, the fawn presses its body tightly to the ground. But the bear's keen sense of smell broke the camouflage. A decisive pounce extinguishes all hopes. Right in the garden, the energy-thirsty bear individual unexpectedly lunges to attack. A rough roar tears the silence apart. The deer thrashes in panic, but the predator's overwhelming muscle mass has turned all resistance efforts to zero. Under the gnawing pressure of survival, the fragile boundary between wild nature and the urban world is immediately broken in just a blink of an eye. Nature has never been tamed. It only patiently steps back, waiting for the opportunity to rise up to reclaim what inherently belongs to it. Bear versus moose. At the river's edge, the bear silently closes in on the moose mother and calf having their meal. The hunter's eyes are full of calculation, while the naive calf still hasn't imagined the grim reaper lurking right behind. Immediately, the mother moose surges with fury, charging straight at the enemy. Right at that moment, the predatory instinct immediately retreats into a defensive stance. It stumbles backward, the giant muscle mass suddenly outmatched by the terrifying speed and pressure from the mother. However, as an opportunist, the hunter persistently tails the moose mother and calf. A golden opportunity, and the predator is determined not to miss it. Sensing the slightest sound, the mother moose spins around sharply. With just a few stomps and a powerful swing of her head, she forces the bear to warily step back. Blocked for the second time. Hunger still urges it to sullenly tail them all the way to the next area. The battle closes once again. The flame of motherhood has completely triumphed over the bloodthirsty instinct. The Alaskan waters churn violently as the bear begins its hunting sequence. The moose individual swimming across is completely passive before the lightning-fast ambush acceleration of the enemy. Despite efforts to swing its antlers, the bear's giant body from behind immediately breaks its center of gravity and quickly drains the stamina of the moose individual underwater. Controlling the target. The bear delivers a fatal bite, taking its life. The river surface becomes quiet again. In nature, a minimum defensive loophole is always directly converted into a source of survival energy. Bear versus bison. In an empty lot near a residential area, a solitary bison individual is exhausted. Behind, the bear continuously bites and tears at the spinal area, aiming to completely eliminate the prey's mobility. Drained of its last fading strength, the bison spins around to show dominance, hoping to open a retreat path, but hopelessly. The severe physical injuries have completely stripped away the counterattack ability of this muscle mass. Fangs and claws sinking deeper, the bear herds the opponent down into the riverbed. The water's resistance immediately cancels out the bison's acceleration, creating an absolute advantage for a highly pragmatic underwater predator. Bear versus elk. From the bushes, the bear launches an ambush, its giant weight crashing down, shaking the ground. The elk herd ahead halts and looks back. Upon identifying the predator as a giant bear, all intentions to intervene are immediately extinguished. Before this absolute power, bravery is completely meaningless. The bear drags the prize to a more secluded and safe area to begin consuming this meal. In the old forest, the privilege of survival belongs only to those who deliver the most decisive blows. The icy river becomes a harsh survival boundary. The bear closes in on the elk individual, struggling to part the water. The rapid breathing and splashing foam immediately tear the silence apart. The bear uses its massive body to press down, breaking the center of gravity, making the opponent exhausted. The mechanical impulse from the elk's kick is very large, but is immediately completely canceled out by the water's resistance. In the deciding phase, the bear submerges the target, a pragmatic and ruthless outcome of the ecological law. Bear versus human. On the familiar trail, the cyclist suddenly feels a chill down his spine at the sound of dry branches snapping rapidly right behind his back. A giant bear is rushing forward out of hunger. He pedals desperately across the narrow strip of land, every breath choking. Grizzly bears can maintain a speed of 50 kilometers per hour for many kilometers in the dense forest. Realizing the absolute physical disadvantage, the human is forced to use his mind to survive. Bear versus wolf. Amidst the snow carpet, the wolf pack attempts to lay siege to the bear. They probe for loopholes, but that giant physique is a perfect biological defense barrier. The bear's dense muscle system forms a natural armor layer. This structure both amplifies physical impulses and maximizes the injury tolerance threshold. The bear completely overwhelms the situation. A few powerful arm swings immediately collapse the wolf pack's tactical formation. Aware of the risks, the wolf pack proactively disperses. The situation closes in favor of the solitary predator. Bear versus wild boar. Deep in the forest, the bear ambushes a male wild boar. The sharp claws immediately pierce through the keratinized skin layer, directly creating a series of physical injuries. The target counterattacks with sharp tusks, but the bear easily dodges, then decisively crushes the carotid artery. The 7-centimeter thick fat structure of the wild boar is normally an effective biological shield against wolf or leopard fangs. However, this barrier is completely ineffective against the 1,200 psi bite pressure from the bear. The bear lifts the prey high up. Being vigilant while eating prey is a characteristic ecological behavior of this species. On the roadside slope, a massive bear is using overwhelming strength to control a wild boar. Despite the desperate thrashing, the bear's jaws and weight have locked the opponent tight. The predator continuously bites and drags the prey. The resistance gradually weakens. The black bear completely dominates, pinning the wild boar down into the muddy water ditch. After the tense tug of war, the bear pants and cautiously observes. It wants to drag the wild boar into a secluded corner to eat. But this slope is the biggest difficulty. Weighing the risks against the meal, it is forced to abandon the prey. Bear versus mountain goat. On the steep mountainside, a bear is carefully probing every step downwards. Right below the cliff, the mother mountain goat and her young child are clinging to a narrow rock ledge. The mother goat continuously looks up, full of vigilance. The bear continues to inch bit by bit on the loose surface towards the prey. However, the goat flock has chosen a very wise defensive position. They stand motionless on the perilous rock ledge, turning the cliff into a solid natural shield. The predator tries to find a way to approach, but its giant weight is a major disadvantage on the slippery terrain. The brown bear struggles to hold on so as not to slip and fall off the slope. Realizing the risk is too high and the cliff is impassable, the brown bear decides to give up. The moments just now show that nature always harbors strength and harshness that humans rarely see with their own eyes. When the survival instinct awakens, every encounter can become a deciding moment. If you find this video interesting, don't forget to hit like. Leave a comment about the moment that impressed you the most, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring many more incredible wild stories. Thank you for watching, and see you again in the next Journeys of the Natural World.